G'day folks, welcome back to AirPower Aviation Consultants 360. I'm Liam O'Connor, and today we're diving into a topic that's, honestly, been bugging the business aviation world for decades. First, let's remember that Aviation Consultants 360 is here to help you first and foremost with your aircraft concerns. To demonstrate just how all-inclusive we think about aviation and how thorough our knowledge of the subject is, I believe it is essential that we explore how we, as consultants, approach all aircraft operations. To demonstrate our capabilities in terms of the depth of our knowledge of business aircraft, I am going to discuss why jets designed to generate revenue typically do not, and our evolutionary solution to that problem, which might even pique your interest if you're looking to go beyond just owning your own aircraft, but making millions and even billions in business aviation. Now, if you haven't heard of Rick Erickson, you're in for a treat. This bloke's got a resume that reads like a history of modern aviation. He's the guy who, when the Federal Reserve Bank had a problem in 1969, was specifically contacted by them to help them solve their on-time cancelled check reliability problem. Rick's solution became Midwest Air Charter in 1969, a 55-aircraft operation that evolved into Airborne Express in 1977, which is known today as DHL. Between 1976 and 1988, Rick flew as chief pilot for Mercedes-Benz North America. He left Benz in 1988 to create, develop, and co-found Jet Support Services Inc., or JSSI, which, if you're in the biz, you know is a big deal. He has logged over 21,000 hours as a pilot in command, checked out in more than 50 different aircraft. So when Rick says there's a problem with how we use business jets, I reckon it's worth a listen. Here's the crux. Business aviation is massively underutilized compared to commercial airlines. I mean, airlines are flying 2.9 million passengers a day every day. But your average business jet? It's lucky to see 300 hours a year. That's not even close to what these machines are built for. That's a genuine and significant opportunity to convert passive assets into a substantial, revenue-generating business that will benefit every aircraft owner. They will be standing in line to be among the first to transform their aircraft into serious revenue generators. Rick's analysis says you need at least 1,100 hours per aircraft per year just to break even when trying to generate profitability as a commercial operator. Anything less, and you're basically bleeding money. And look, I've seen this play out in other sectors too. I was mentoring this Aussie drone startup a while back, great tech, but they were only flying a handful of hours a week. All that capital is tied up, just sitting on the ground. It's the same story. If you don't get utilization up, you're sunk. So, why is this happening? Well, the current charter and fractional models just don't cut it. They're built around fixed costs, and if you're not flying enough, those costs eat you alive. Airlines, on the other hand, have figured out how to keep their planes in the air, spreading those costs over millions of passengers. Business aviation? Not so much. And that's where Rick's ideas start to get really interesting. All right, let's get into the meat of it. Rick's solution, the On-Demand National Air Charter System, or ODNACS. This isn't just a tweak to the old model. It's a complete rethink. The goal? Take those 300 hours per aircraft and crank it up to 2,000 hours or more of revenue hours. That's a 600% jump in utilization. Sounds wild, but Rick's got the numbers to back it up. The magic here is the once principle. Once is Rockefeller's sage business advice, and key to success was to own nothing, control everything. The same idea Rick used when he started JSSI back in the late 80s. Instead of owning the aircraft, you control the operation. That means minimal overhead, almost no risk, and you're not stuck with the liabilities that come with traditional ownership. It's a bit like the way Uber doesn't own cars, but they control the ride. I might be oversimplifying, but you get the gist. Now, if you want proof this can work, look at what Rick did in 1969 with Midwest Air Charter. He ran 55 aircraft, 6 nights a week, for the Federal Reserve Bank. We're talking about 4,000 hours of weekly line time, 2,500 hours of actual flight time, with a 99.75% on-time completion rate. That's not just good. That's well beyond airline-level reliability. And he reckons we can hit those numbers today with the new system he has developed. The kicker is, with OddNAX, you're not just making the aircraft work harder, you're making the whole system more efficient. Deadhead flights drop to under 5%. You can call up a jet with as little as 4 hours' notice. And because you're spreading those fixed costs over way more hours, suddenly, business aviation starts to look profitable for everyone, not just the folks selling the planes. So, let's talk scale. Rick's projections are, honestly, a bit mind-blowing. He says that if business aviation could capture just 0.4% of 1% of the airline passenger market, there would not be enough corporate aircraft to meet demand. That's how much of an untapped market is out there. To understand these projections, let's use attainable and understandable conditions that meet all FAA crew time and operational limits. Let's consider a system of 150 aircraft flying 6.7 revenue block hours per day, the revenue generator, equivalent to 6 hours of flight time, 80% to 85% of the expenses. That equates to 1,005 hours a day, times 300 days a year. That is a total of 301,500 hours annually, using an average gross income of $3,600 per hour per plane, which will generate $1,085,400,000 in annual income. That's not pie in the sky. He's got the spreadsheets to prove it. And for every additional 150 aircraft brought into this system, increase the total amount by $1,085,400,000 in annual income again and again until we own the market. Ideally, 17 to 20 times, potentially doubling that until we run out of available aircraft. Let's break down the numbers a bit. Each aircraft, under this system, for example, would generate well over $7 million in annual gross income for every aircraft owner. Operating costs are slashed because you are diluting the fixed costs and using the feedback loop model Rick talks about, where you keep reinvesting and optimizing, generating massive maintenance discounts as a result of the massive hours being flown per aircraft, which just keeps pushing profits higher. And here's the kicker. With the once model, you're dodging a lot of the regulatory headaches, minimal FAA involvement, super low overhead, and you can scale up fast. That's a startup founder's dream, right there. Now, could this really change the aviation startup landscape? I mean, if you can run a billion-dollar operation with a lean team, minimal red tape, and a system that actually works for operators and customers, it's hard not to get excited. I've seen feedback loops transform other industries. Think SaaS, think logistics. If aviation can achieve this, we might be looking at a whole new era for business travel. That is how deep and experienced AirPower Aviation Consultants 360 is. Yes, we certainly can and will help you with your aircraft concerns. Please feel free to take advantage of our free 1-hour consultation, and let's see how we can help you today. All right, that's all for today's episode. If you're as intrigued as I am, keep an eye on Rick Erickson and the OddNAX model. We'll be back soon with more on tech trends and aviation breakthroughs. Until then, I'm Liam O'Connor, and you've been listening to AirPower Aviation Consultants 360. Cheers.